Because it's one of those things, you know, it's hard to, if you have a child that has some form of neurological disorder, it is heartbreaking for that parent, and you want to get an answer as to why. But your mommy instinct does not overrule all of medical science. And that's what she's claiming, is that she knows, because she knows, that vaccines caused her child's autism. One of the very heartwarming things that's happened since I launched the Jenny McCarthy Body Count website is I have received so many emails from people who have autism and people who are part of autism advocacy groups who are so thankful that I've done this because they despise Jenny McCarthy.
Really?
Yeah, they cannot stand, because Jenny McCarthy refers to her child as being a shadow, as not being fully there, not being fully human. And this is repulsive to people who have autism. She claims that her son is cured of autism. If this were true, there's lots of people who would like to know how she did it. Problem is, the way that she says that she did it isn't medically possible. Chelation and diet. That's not going to cure a neurological disorder. Are there any questions? I know I've kind of jumped around a lot, so.
What is the what is the correlation where would you say that that Kerry and McCarthy, where's the stumbling block in their logic? Where's the point, assuming that their intentions are completely honorable, what seems to be the thing they can't seem to grasp about this?
Big Pharma. They think that Big Pharma, you know, the mythical Big Pharma, is just after money, and the CDC is in collusion with them in order to make money. Because by mandating these vaccines, it's guaranteeing these medical companies to make money. Here's the problem, though. About 10, 20 years ago, there were 10 companies that made vaccines. Today, I believe it's only 3. And those 3, the only reason they're still making them is because the government is paying them to. They would get out of the business of making vaccines if the government wasn't paying them, because vaccines are not profitable. They do not make money off of vaccinating everybody. And they literally just, the only reason they still do it to this day, and you know, the government didn't stop, you know, the other 7 that started to get out of it. It was when they realized that all these companies were going to get out of making vaccines, that then they went, we can't have that. We need people to make vaccines in this country. We need this desperately, so we will pay you to keep making vaccines. And we will cut, and if anybody ever gets some sort of illness or because of vaccine, we will cover all the legal costs of that. So the idea that this is done by Big Pharma in order to make millions and millions and millions of dollars is just fundamentally not true.
So they just completely reject all scientific fact.
Yes.
That's the stumbling block.
That's a large one.
It's kind of hard to get over that one. Yes?
Some years ago, I don't remember how many, when I first started hearing about this anti-vaccine movement, I read some article written by Robert Kennedy Jr., who was an advocate of the anti-vaccine
Which is very disappointing.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Now, since that time, when I learned that, you know, the thimerosal isn't used anymore, and studies have been done and so forth, has Robert Kennedy Jr. changed his position in the light of the new development?
No. And it is sad about Robert Kennedy, because there's some things, there's other parts of his advocacy that I do agree with, but he is just completely completely, utterly wrong. And that's one of the things that is interesting is when people are shown, okay, your claim was that thimerosal caused autism. So let's get rid of thimerosal. Autism rates didn't change. So you should change your belief that it was the thimerosal that caused autism. And they don't. They reject the findings and keep saying the same thing, even though all of the medical cases and all of the court cases have shown this not to be true. Sure?
So at this point, if you've taken away the thimerosal issue, it's just this non-specific, it's just not safe concept, that's all that they're going on? It's just a correlation.
Well,
I mean, that's all that's left,
they've gone
right?
from the thimerosal to then going to, well, do you realize that there's aluminum in vaccines? Do you realize that there's all these other toxins in vaccines? And that's, again, not really understanding what's going on. Here's the ingredients of vaccines. So these are the things that they're complaining about now. Formaldehyde. He's like, well, yeah, we kind of think of formaldehyde as being really noxious because we remember from 8th grade biology class. But it's used to inactivate the bacteria in what are called toxoid vaccines. And it's also used to kill the unwanted viruses and bacteria that might contaminate the vaccine. So it's a misunderstanding. It's like we think, like the mercury. Oh, there's mercury in it. Well, there's different types of mercury. And the type that's being used in vaccines is not harmful. The type of, the level of formaldehyde that's used in it, we think icky thoughts about formaldehyde. But it is a useful and necessary preservative. And again, it's been shown repeatedly in the way that it's used in vaccines to not have any physical harmful side effects.
Well, just real quick, too, in this February study, so what are they arguing against now? These two authors, Jeff Gerber and Paul Offit, they examined 3 different prongs of the anti-vaccine movement. The first is a combination, the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine causes autism also by damaging the intestinal lining, which was studied because they found kids who had autism and found no evidence of it in the intestinal lining. That was one prong. The thimerosal, the mercury in the thimerosal is another prong. And the third one was what we talked about earlier, about that kids are getting too many shots at one time and it's overwhelming their immune systems. So that's what these guys looked at, and all 3 have been thoroughly refuted.
Mm-hmm.